Alright traders, good afternoon. Welcome to another technical analysis update. Today is the 3rd of August 2022 and it's just coming up to 4 p.m. here in the UK. So today will be a very short technical analysis update just on the S&P, Bitcoin and Ethereum. So we'll crack straight on with the S&P, and I'm looking here at the weekly chart. And by looking at the weekly chart, you can see what I've done there is I've put two little arches there, just basically to help you identify where the volume profile is and what we're looking at for regions, for ranges, if you like. Okay, so basically we're trying to find acceptance in this red range, if you like, this balance area. Okay, so basically we've managed to get above this low volume node here with this large liquid candle to the upside, and now we're kind of like seeing, we've already tested the lows here. So we're kind of seeing if we can get acceptance above there, which it does look like we have. So if I was to put that orange line that I've just put on, is basically the edge of this profile here, of this volume profile. And you could even argue that the whole profile is more like this. It goes all the way to 4,700 points or whatever. But I'm just going to concentrate on this little profile here, on this little volume cluster, right, for the next range. And I'll explain to you why in just a second. But you can see that this is the HVE, so the high volume edge, right? And this little candle here is probably more visible on the 3-day, or perhaps even on the daily. We've already we broke above it, came down, confirmed that as support, and now it looks like we are on our way up. Okay, so so it does look like we're trying to find acceptance inside of this cluster here. Of course, if we find acceptance within this cluster, that means that we go to the next low volume area here to test the other side of the balance, which would be round about here. Okay, so therefore the range would be somewhere inside of there, right? So somewhere between 4,260 points and 4,000 points. Now you will also notice that the resistance level, so the top low volume node, is actually, or high volume edge here, it's actually in perfect confluence with the developing years VWAP, right? So this is the yearly VWAP here for the 2022, and it does look like we've got acceptance inside of value again, right? So if I just take these two horizontal lines off, right? So this is the value area here, right? That's the value area low, that's the value area high, and this is the yearly VWAP, and it does look like we've already got acceptance inside of that, right? So the key thing really, the key aspect is to stay above 4,070 points, and if we can stay above that, then I think the next level of resistance will be around about here, 4,270 points, something like that. Okay, so I think that's pretty clear of what's going on here. We want to be trading inside of this high volume cluster. Of course, if we lose this value area low of the yearly, which has perfect confluence with that low volume node, then down we go onto the next balance area, which will be this one here, okay, which is highlighted in blue for you there, okay, and then we'd be ranging somewhere between 4,000 points and 3,600 points, okay, so essentially these two edges here. All right, so that's on the higher time frame. If we look at the smaller or shorter time frames here on the daily, it does look, what I've got here is the quarterly VWAP, right, and it does look like we've rallied all the way up to the previous quarter VWAP close here, and once we've rallied up above it, we've confirmed it as support, and it failed to get below it. Okay, so this is now current support, like I said, around about 4,090 points, something like that. So at the moment this looks bullish as long as we stay above this, okay, on the daily and the quarterly, so on the daily chart, the quarterly VWAP. Now on the 4-hour chart, and I've got here the monthly VWAP, it's very clear that we're kind of finding support here at the June value area high. Okay, so this is where the June VWAP closed, right? That's the value area high. The value area low was way down here, so it's a huge range here, and we kind of like, we swept the lows here below the June value area low, so we swept the lows there and then we rallied. Okay, so we had some resistance here at the June VWAP close, but once we've broken above it and confirmed that here as support, we rallied yet again and we broke above the value area high. And now what we're testing is quite simply the value area of May. Okay, so the value area high is currently, which is around about here, is currently around about its resistance now. So we're stuck in between two value area highs of June and May. All right, so we're kind of just rotating here. Now this is going to be a little bit, it sounds a little bit confusing, but it's going to be a little bit more visible on the 1 hour chart, which I'll show you in just a second. Okay, the important thing that I wanted to show you here on the 4 hour chart is that this candle here was a very large liquid candle to the upside yesterday, and it tapped the highs there. It couldn't get past the previous high here, which is also a poor high, by the way, and we've left some equal lows right here. Right, so that's sitting at round about, let me just double check that, 4,078 points. Okay, so at 4,078 points is where we've got some equal lows, and I do expect those to get swept. However, like I said, we do have some poor highs there, so I don't know, it does look like it wants to sweep these poor highs, do a swing failure pattern, and then come back and correct that. But you know, the direction at the moment is not quite clear. What is clear is that we've got some resistance here and we've got some support there. So we'll have to see which way it breaks. Looking for clues on that, we can look here on the 1 hour chart. And if we look at the 1 hour chart, it's a little bit clearer of what's going on here on the smaller time frames. So now we've got a order block there, or a flag limit, if you like, where the price kind of like staggered here and then just flagged above it, and this flag limit has been acting as support for quite some time. We got tapped once, twice, and it acted as support without consuming most of that liquidity there. Okay, here at these highs, we've swept the highs here, we deviated above, came all the way back down to that flag limit, and then we rallied all the way up. But like I said, it failed to take that deviation, which is some poor highs that we've got there. That's an anomaly on the market profile, and you'll be able to see that with no excess, right? So there's some poor highs there that need correcting, even if we are to go low, right? But like I said, we've also got the equal lows here, which is basically this one and this one here. So we've got those two equal lows that need correcting, and that's yet another anomaly. So, you know, it's a little bit sort of, we've got anomalies on both sides, so it's a little bit tentative to try and figure out which way we're going to go first. But judging by this price action here, I would say that we go and try this first. Now, if we can get above 4,150 points here, and we stay above this, then I think we've got room to rally all the way to 4,200, 4,300 points, I think it was. I'll look at that on the higher time frame in just a second. But if it actually comes here and does this kind of pattern where it basically sweeps the highs, falls back inside of the range, then that's definitely a short position, and we'll be heading lower, perhaps to correct this equal lows and lower still. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and observe and see what the price action does. If I was to put a fixed range here, okay, this is basically a transparent fixed range, and it's pulled essentially from these lows here. So I'm looking at round about before these big impulses. So we were kind of ranging here for a while, right? And then we had two large illiquid impulses. And if I put that range there and I change that onto mono, for example, you can see the volume profile there. I usually have it as transparent, as a clear template, because I'm only interested in the value areas and the point of control. Now, you can see that this is being respected with the value areas being tagged quite a few times here. This one hasn't tagged it just yet, right? But it's the same down here. We're tagging them quite a few times here, and then we're bouncing from them. We've gotten above this point of control here, which is sitting around about 4,100 points, and until we get below that, there's no bearish price action. Okay, so essentially what we want to see now here is that, will this be a fake out? Will we actually go above, clean out those poor highs, and then fall back inside of the range? If so, retesting the value area high will most definitely be a short position, and we'll be targeting this point of control and this flag limit here, maybe even as low as that at around about 4,010 points. But we'll get to that stage when, you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Or will we actually continue higher and confirm that this resistance is now indeed support, and we'll go much higher? Okay, and when I say much higher, let's have a look at where that resistance level is. If I look here, for example, on the daily chart, we were looking at this volume cluster here as the next area of balance, right? Like I said, we've entered this new balance, we've cleared out the low volume node, right? So we are above the edge of the high volume cluster right there, around about 4,060 points or whatever it is, right? So I can make it a little bit like that. And the next level of resistance will be obviously around about here, okay? 4,260 points. Now, if we were to look at this without looking at the market profile, you could see that it's got a lot of confluence with the previous quarterly value area high there. Okay, so which is sitting at around about 4,300 points. So somewhere between 4,260, 4,300 points is the next level of resistance if we are indeed to go up. Okay, so if we do break above that little range that I just showed you here on the 1 hour, above this one here, right? So if we do something like this, we would be going around about 4,250 points. Now, if I hope that is kind of clear on the higher time frame and the lower time frame chart. So that's that for the S&P. Like I said, if we were to lose, and I'm just going back on the higher time frame here, right, on the weekly, if we were to lose this area here around about 4,000 points, right, and basically inability to get back above this value area low there, that means almost certainly that we get acceptance back inside of here, and then this would have been nothing but a bear market rally, and we'd continue to print new lows, in my personal opinion, right? So we've got highs, lows, lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows, and now here this is potentially a lower high until we've broken this high here. Okay, so if the market does indeed rally to here, that's a change in market structure. That's basically, it means that there's the end of the bear trend as such. Okay, especially that would be confirmed if we do indeed bounce back again on this low volume area and print a higher low. Okay, so this is a low, this is a higher low, and this would be yet another higher low. So that would be where the trend change confirmation would be. It's basically confirming that this is indeed support, but also breaking the previous high. All right, so again, if we do not do any of that and we actually just come straight back down again, this was nothing but a bear market rally. This is yet another lower high, and the bear trend will continue and potentially printing a new low. And that's my analysis for the S&P. So let's move on to Bitcoin. And Bitcoin here on the weekly, you can see that we're kind of struggling to try and get inside this year's value. Okay, so this is the value area low for the developing years VWAP, 2022 VWAP right there. This is the -1 standard deviation, and we've been rejected there quite a few times. I mean, if I put this on the daily and I delete now my little line there, you can see that we've tried this maybe 3 or 4 times there, and we got rejected, as you can see right there. Right, so but the market is not flushing, right? We didn't go like much lower, we didn't get a massive rejection. It's basically just a little pullback. So essentially, if we can break back above $24,200, then I think there's a low volume area here, there's hardly any volume there, so I think it'll be a very speedy, just like here, large liquid candle all the way up to a previous level of support, which has obviously confluence with this edge of this high volume cluster here. Okay, so that's around about $28,000. So like I said, if we break above this, then I think that there's plenty of room to go to $28,000 without much obstruction. So that's on the higher time frames. If we look at the lower time frames, however, the picture is a little bit different. Here on the daily, this is again the quarterly VWAP. Right, you can see that basically we got acceptance back inside the previous quarter. So this is the quarterly VWAP here, this is the -1 standard deviation, this is the +1 standard deviation, and this is essentially, the whole thing is essentially not very different from a volume profile, right? Something like this. Okay, so now we've got acceptance above the value area low. So what remains to be seen is, have we got enough, if this is acceptance that is indeed support, have we got enough strength to get all the way up to $28,000 and perhaps even $30,000 where the previous quarter closed? That remains to be seen, and we'll perhaps see some clues on the 4-hour chart and on the 1-hour chart as well. So again, this is bullish. We are above the current quarterly VWAP and above the value area low of the previous quarter, right? On the monthly VWAP, which is basically on this 4-hour chart, this is the monthly VWAP, just so that you guys are aware. We are currently struggling to just get back above the previous month, which is actually not the previous, this is for June. Okay, so we're now in August, the beginning of August. The previous month would have been here. But the June monthly VWAP closed round about $23,400 on Coinbase, right? And you can see that this is basically currently resistance, right? We kind of did close above it. We went above it. We confirmed it as support. we kind of like rotated here for a little while and ranged for a while, and then we lost that level. And since we've lost that level, this has been consistently resistance until we actually break it, right? So this is strong resistance moving forward here on the 4-hour chart, and unless we break above $24,000, I would say, let's say 23,000, I would put this order block here as potentially the last level of resistance. So I would say $24,000. So unless we break above $24,000, I see this as resistance, okay? And I think we're perhaps going lower. So this is the current level of resistance, and we've got potentially room to move all the way down to this lower volume node here at 22,400. Okay, so we could potentially be doing a pullback, something like this here, or maybe even going to the previous month, which is the month of July VWAP close here. Okay, the only thing that is actually looking a little bit bullish is that on every occasion that we've been down here to try and find acceptance back inside of this value here of the July value, we've been rejected, and we've kind of moved up from there. So this is looking a little bit more bullish. So again, just to put things into context, we are above the monthly VWAP, we're also above the quarterly VWAP. We've gained acceptance above the value area high of the July VWAP, July value area, and we're also above the previous quarter value area low. Okay, so we're back inside of that value. So far on the higher time frame, the only thing that's giving us resistance is the yearly VWAP value area low. Okay, looking here on the 1-hour chart, you can see that we've got a pretty sort of like nice little gap here in terms of volume. So that's causing obviously resistance here. We've already tested it with this long wick here to try and find acceptance back inside of this high volume cluster. We found resistance there, and it fell straight back into the range. So in my personal opinion, I think we're going to go lower, but we are above the daily and weekly VWAPs as well. So on the lower time frames, we are above all of the VWAPs, the daily, the weekly, the monthly, and the quarterly. Okay, so it's literally just the yearly that is and it's the yearly value area low that's causing resistance at the moment. Okay, so so yeah, basically here on the weekly VWAP, this is the 1-hour chart on Coinbase. You can see here that we basically couldn't get back above the previous week value area high, and as such we came all the way back down, and we tested almost to the dollar here the previous week VWAP close. Okay, we tested that, we've ranged here for a long while, and we're back at resistance, and we're hovering at resistance here, which is a good sign. Obviously it's a good sign for the bulls. Like I said, we are staying above the daily VWAP and the current week's VWAP here, and we've already tested the previous week close here. So we could potentially going all the way up here to 23,800, right? I said 24,000, but even if we go all the way up here, 23,800, we could still potentially be inside of this value here and go all the way back down. So that's why I'm saying that unless we actually break above this level, which is around about $24,000, then I won't be convinced. Essentially what I want to see is acceptance back inside of this range. Okay, the range that I'm referring to, let me just delete all of these brush marks a second to make it a little bit clearer. The range that I'm referring to, and I'm going to take the VWAPs off as well just to clean up the chart a little second. That's the range I'm talking about. Okay, so basically you can see here that we were very clearly trading inside the range. So impulse, range, right? We fell out of the range. We deviated above as well, right? Which is usually a bad sign. Deviate above, get acceptance back inside. This was a great short here. This is an aggressive short, but basically when we're in the range, we deviate above, swing failure pattern, come back inside of the range, test the highs, and fail to get above those highs, just like we saw on this week here. This is a great entry for a short, and if you were short, I think this is a great place to take profits here, as we saw per the VWAP is a contextual level here, right? But regardless of that, what we have seen is that this range is now like a 2-day composite value, and it's resistance, right? So this is again yet another great opportunity to go short until we actually find acceptance back inside of this range here, right? And then start breaking above $24,000, then I think that if we break above this, then I think we've got a very good chance to going back to range highs and potentially breaking and smashing straight through this. But at the moment, I'm not seeing it, okay? So this is resistance until proven otherwise, and as such, I do expect these levels down here to get taken around about 22,400 and potentially even lower when I put back the view apps. I'm looking at this level here, which is basically, let me just, basically the previous week value area, okay? So like I said, we have bounced here on the weekly view at close, right? But we tested that many times. If we cannot get back above this level here, and we do like a swing failure pattern like this, then I think the next time we come here, I wouldn't be holding this as support because it's been tapped that many times, and I think it will go straight through and go all the way down to around about 21,500, which is the next level that I'll be looking for. Okay, so that's basically what I've got for Bitcoin. So overall, it does look very bullish. Yes, we are above all of the view apps. On the higher time frame, however, when you look at the weekly chart, you can see that there's very clear resistance there with the value area low of the yearly. And then here on the smaller time frames, you're starting to see indications as well that we could potentially be heading lower. Okay, unless we actually manage to break back above this value here. Okay, so that is it for Bitcoin. Let's move on to Ethereum. In fact, let's have a look at Exocharts for a second. Let's have a look, see if we can find any confluence here on the market profile. So that's the 2-day composite value. That's basically these two profiles, they overlap. As you can see here, the value overlaps. You could even argue that this one here could be sort of incorporated into that, but I don't like the fact that it kind of extends all the way down here. Okay, so these profiles definitely, the value area definitely overlaps. So I merge those two profiles. That gives me this gray rectangle, and you can see from today's price action here, let me just extend that, right, that we tested it almost to the dollar, right, like where that 2-day composite value area is, right? So right here. Okay, so right there. Okay, so we tested that, we got rejected, and we're back inside today's value. Okay, so we'll just have to wait and see what happens now. But if I was to look at this sort of like from a zoomed out perspective, what I can tell you is that there are not many anomalies above here. Okay, all these highs have got excess, so there's no poor highs above to correct. Okay, there is a naked point of control here, a volume naked point of control at $23,764. Okay, but other than that, there's that naked point of control all the way up here, 24,500, but that would be basically the route to much higher prices, I believe. Okay, so this 2-day composite value, this rectangle here, is key, and even if we rally all the way up to 23,700, we could still roll over. Okay, that's why I'm looking at 24K, which is the value area high of this 2-day composite for the trigger to go up. So if we take this naked point of control, we could still be going lower, and the targets for going lower, in my personal opinion, we've got loads and loads of anomalies below us. Okay, so for example, today's profile, that's a poor low. Yesterday's profile, that's also a poor low. Okay, we've got some single prints below us between 22,500 and 22,230, and then we've also got some single prints around about 22,000, 21,760. You will also see that these blue lines that you see here across, right, they're basically session view app closes that have been untapped. Now these have got a very good strike rate. They tend to get tagged, and these have not been tagged yet. So I think that we could potentially be engineering liquidity here at the upside in order to go down and trap everybody long. We've also got a monthly view app all the way down here at 21,600, and we've got a naked point of control at $21,200. Okay, so this naked point of control and the session view app close are just there, naked and sticking out like a sore thumb, just as much as this one here in between the two single prints. So, you know, like I said, we've got plenty of anomalies. There's also a poor low there, a poor low there. And you know, there's also a naked point of control way down here, but let's not look at that one because that's way too far for now. Okay, plenty of session VWAP closes and naked points of control below. I think there's plenty of liquidity below there to be grabbed. That I doubt very much that Bitcoin will just carry on going up without grabbing that liquidity. But again, that's just a narrative and that's just my opinion. The market doesn't give a toss about what I think and what my opinion is. I'm just stating what I'm seeing on the charts. There is not a lot other than this session VWAP here. Naked point of control there, naked point of control there. All the poor highs have been corrected here. Everything's got excess, but not at the lows. Okay, so all these lows are naked and they're basically weak lows. All right, so that's what I'm seeing here on the market profile. I think that is pretty much it for Bitcoin. So let's just move on to Ethereum versus USD. Ethereum USD looking a little bit better here on the weekly. As you can see, it basically got back inside this year's value and it got rejected at the lows, which means that we're actually trying to find acceptance inside of this area here, right? So as long as we are above, let's say $1,500, then I think this is bullish. Okay, the only thing that we're finding resistance right now is the value area low of the 2021 VWAP, which is this line here. Okay, that's exactly as you can see here on the daily. And I'm going to delete those little lines so that you guys can see the lines clearly. Right, you can see that basically very clear that this is a previous level of support. It's now turned to resistance, and it has perfect confluence right there with the value area low of 2021. Now, so that is definitely resistance, but this previous level of resistance is now acting as support. So this low volume area here is acting as support at around about 1656. If Bitcoin does have a pullback to 21,500, I don't expect Ethereum to go much lower than 1300. Okay, 1300 is basically where this high volume cluster is and where that low volume node or HVE is, which is a previous level of resistance that now should be acting as support. Okay, quite simply. So even if we see a severe pullback on Bitcoin, I don't think that Ethereum will go much lower than $1,300. In fact, I potentially would be looking at this order block here as a potential level. I'm not entirely sure what happened to the stream there. I've just realized I had a notification from YouTube saying that the stream stopped streaming. So I'll just repeat what I've just said, right? So ultimately, this previous level of support is now a strong level of resistance, right? Even if you don't have these VWAPs on your chart or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? The important thing is that we've gained acceptance back inside of this year's value, right? So if we were to have a severe pullback on Bitcoin right now, I think this temporary level of support, which was previous resistance and is acting as support now, will fail. And ultimately, the next level of support will be at this previous level of resistance to act as support, okay, which is around about $1,400, $1,300, something like that. So that could be the next target for Ethereum if we are indeed to go down, okay, because if Bitcoin goes down, it drags everything else down with it, as you probably know. Now, so that's the levels of support: 1,400, 1,300, 1,300, 1,400, and potentially this one here would break, which is around about $1,600. All right. If, however, this just keeps going up and we break above this level of resistance, the route is clear pretty much all the way to $2,200, which is where this low volume area here is. Okay. So you can see that it's got perfect confluence with this previous high here, right? Which is why there's a volume profile right there, a high volume cluster. So that's where I see Ethereum going next if we are indeed to go up without a severe pullback on Bitcoin. All right, so that's on the higher time frames. If I was to look at the smaller time frames, we start here with the daily chart on Bybit, and you can see here actually we've gotten inside this high volume cluster. This is a big high volume cluster here, as you can see. Let me do it the same that what I did for the S&P there. So you can see that that's a big high volume cluster, and we found acceptance above that, right? If we are to continue to the upside, like I said, we could potentially go all the way back up to $2,900, okay? But there is resistance above, of course, okay? $2,000 is a big round number, and I've also got $2,200 as the previous quarter VWAP close that is untapped here. It's got perfect confluence with the previous highs there, so I do think that that level will be the next level to go to on the daily time frame. But as you can see here, we've just been impulse, support, impulse, support, and it's doing constructive price action, higher highs and higher lows, okay? If we lose this level, it's no big deal. We could potentially be going all the way down here to around about $1,400 and potentially even $1,300 here, right? But we'll have to wait and see if Bitcoin does indeed pull back or not, okay? One thing to note is that we are above the quarterly VWAP, just like on Bitcoin. Also noting, or worth noting, is that we are above the monthly VWAP here on Ethereum USD. So we're above the quarterly, we are above the monthly. This is the monthly VWAP here. And we're also finding acceptance above the previous month, which is the month of June value area high, right? So we've been rejected to get accepted back into this. We've not been accepted back inside of this value, okay? So it does look very bullish, okay? The only thing, like I said, that is causing resistance is this previous level of support, okay? But the longer we hover at resistance, the more likely we are to break it. So just keep that in mind. All right, so bullish on the 4-hour chart, bullish on the daily, also bullish on the weekly chart here on Ethereum. And now let's have a look at the 1-hour chart. And now, as far as the 1-hour chart, you can see that we're basically back inside this week's value, okay? So this is the weekly reset here, all the way back here to the where the price was, right? And this is the value area high, and this here is the value area low of the current week, right? So I'm just going to delete all that. I hope you guys can see that on your chart. And we're basically finding resistance right there. Right, so that's basically the next level of resistance. If we do go up and get accepted back inside of this range here, okay, the next level of resistance will be around about here, $1,720. Okay, so again, if I was to put some sort of a range there like this, okay, you can see that basically we're being rejected right now. We've kind of we're no longer inside of this range, just like I did for you guys on Bitcoin, right? We came out of this range, we retested this. This is indeed resistance, so that was a short position. Here we are again, this is resistance, but these shorts are getting, like, you know, we're not, the rejections are getting shallower, right? So the longer we hover here at resistance, the more likely it is that we go up. So it's looking very bullish, but again, like I said, if we are just engineering liquidity, then we could see a major pullback, but we need confirmation for that, okay? So the invalidation of this short for me is basically reclaiming this level here and then going all the way up to around about $1,700 and then staying within this range. Even if we stay within this range, that's basically bullish, because even just doing something like this, confirming that this is indeed support, and then it starts going up, then I'll be targeting this level here, and we could potentially take those highs. All right, so we have to pay attention to this level here, around about $1,680. If we can break above $1,680, then I'd get out of any shorts that you're in. Okay, it has to break above that convincingly. For now, it is resistance until proven otherwise, and unless we reclaim that, I think we could be heading much lower. And like I said, around about $1,500, $1,400, maybe even lower to $1,300 there. Okay, so I hope that kind of makes it clear here for Ethereum versus USD. I've looked at the higher time frames, the lower time frames, so I hope you guys are clear of what you should be expecting. So let's move on to Ethereum versus BTC. Now, Ethereum BTC is looking really, really bullish. Okay, it's very clear that Ethereum has been outperforming Bitcoin for quite some time now, since the 13th of June, and we've broken not only above the 2021 value area high, not only above that, but also the current year's VWAP. Okay, so the 2022 VWAP, right? So at the moment it does look like we are kind of like rotating inside of this area, the upper distribution above the VWAP and the value area high. Okay, so somewhere between there. So as long as we stay within this kind of like range here, which is the lows is around about 69,000 sats and the highs is 74,000 sats, right? So it's basically this range here, and we range there until proven otherwise. Okay, this is going to be strong resistance, of course it is. It's the value area high of the current year, and Ethereum has done very, very well so far to get as far as this, right? We also had a trend line that came all the way back from the 14th of June 2021. We broke above that, we came down, we confirmed that as support, and here we are kind of rotating above it. So this is the next level of resistance without a shadow of a doubt. The next level of resistance, in my personal opinion, is around about 80,000 sats. I've got it as 81 there, but I'll just put it right there. That's a weekly level. And then the next level of support will be way down here around about 53,500 sats. Okay, we could potentially say that this one here, and I would say this one here, is the next level of support. Okay, so if we were to break below the yearly VWAP, this is the next level that I would expect to get hit. Okay, so at the moment we're rotating here, so let me just put a little arrow there like I normally do, something like this. We're rotating there. If we break above it, we go to this next level. If we break below it, then we go to this next level, and potentially even this one down here. But at the moment I do not see Ethereum being outperformed by Bitcoin. It is just too bullish with all the narrative with the merge and everything else. Okay, so that's basically what I'm seeing here on the higher time frames. If we look at this on the lower time frame and just looking at the VWAPs, you can see that we are, for example, here on the daily chart, we are above the previous quarter close. Previous quarter VWAP closed here. We are above that. We've confirmed that as support and we rallied above. Okay, so that's bullish. We are above not only this quarter's VWAP but also the last quarter's. On the 4-hour chart, this is the monthly VWAP. We are above the current month VWAP, only just. Okay, and we're also above the previous month VWAP. Okay, it does look like we are struggling to get above this previous month value. Okay, so we could potentially see a little pullback, and this could see a pullback all the way back down to 66,000 sats there, right? As far as the 4-hour chart is concerned, if I was to put that trend line back on, you can see that this here is holding as support. So even if we kind of like come all the way down here, there's potentially an area for a bounce, that trend line. Okay, as it has been confirmed as support, but we'll have to wait and see. On the 1-hour chart, and we're looking at the weekly VWAP, then things are a little bit less clear and a little bit more messy, if you like. Okay, here we kind of accepted back inside of the weekly value. Here we tapped the weekly VWAP. Okay, and then here we've just kind of been rotating without touching any of the extremes, right? So that's what I mean about not being so clear. But it's clear that we are above the weekly VWAP and the daily VWAP here in green as well. Okay, so again, yet another indicative that this is looking bullish. There's no two ways about it, right? So we are above the yearly, the quarterly, the monthly, and the weekly and the daily VWAPs on Ethereum versus BTC. So you can't really argue with this. Ethereum's looking very, very bullish, and as long as we hold these levels for now, I think we've got a lot more upside for Ethereum versus BTC. So of course the scenario that the invalidation of this, and the scenario that would kind of lead me to think that we're going much lower, is of course here on the 4-hour chart, losing the monthly VWAP, going all the way to this trend line that we've got, the higher time frame trend line that comes all the way from June 2021. And if we lose that, then it's not just a little deviation, right? Then we could potentially going all the way back down to these levels here, and maybe even as low as this. Okay, but like I said, at the moment I'm just not seeing it. That's just the invalidation that I see on Ethereum versus BTC right now. Okay, the main thing you want to see right now essentially is 69,000 sats for support, 74,000 sats for resistance. Okay, so it depends of which way we go. If we break down below 69,000 sats, then we could potentially be going all the way down to 64,000 sats, which is that level there. Okay, if we break above it, I'm not sure where that line is gone, but I'll put another one on, it's not a problem, which is round about here at around about 81,000 sats. Okay, which is basically where this weekly order block is. All right, so that's basically it. We rotate from here to here. If we break above it, this is the next level of resistance. If we break below it, this here is the next level of support. That's all I've got for now. I'll have another TA update for you guys on Friday, when we've got the farm employment figures coming from the Federal Reserve. So that could cause some volatility in the market. So I'll try and do the TA update a little bit earlier. But for now, I hope this helps you stay on the right side of the market. Have a great afternoon, and I'll speak to you guys on Friday. Bye-bye.